Hello, I'm Paul Junichano, and I am. This is for a systematic class taught by Dr. Hatchett, and I am reviewing two systematic theology textbooks on the views of atonement. First, we have the one by Grudem, Systematic Theology, and then I am comparing it to the Evangelical Theology textbook that we have for our class by Mike Bird. All the views of atonement, there is the first one. Which is a limited atonement, which is a Calvinist view, and the second one, which is a universal atonement, which is an Arminian view. Now, Bird supplies a third one, the Almoraldian view, which Bird posits as the most biblically faithful and likely mode of atonement, whereas Grudem supports the Calvinist view. Suffice to say, Bird and Grudem differ to which approach the atonement they propose as the truer nature and the scheme by which God's grace operates. Now, the limited atonement view that is supported by Grudem is that God's redemptive plan and Jesus' redemptive act on the cross are only sufficient for God's chosen elect, emphasizing the efficiency of atonement for the elect when heeding the call to faith. There are a majority of biblical texts that can be used to defend limited atonement or atonement for the elect and not universal in nature. Both in the Old and New Testament, we've got Leviticus 16, 21 to 22, Deuteronomy 21, verse 8, Ezekiel 45, 17, Matthew 1, 21, John 10, 14 and 15, and John 17, 9. These texts confirm the nature of God's choosing a people on the basis of his will so that they might be saved. Grudem seems to lean towards the Reformed position for its explicit biblical support and the fact that the system supports God's glory as being at the highest value, versus man's free will, which is the Arminian system. There is an invitation for all to receive what Jesus clearly extended to to all of mankind, and to partake in God's mercy. But only those God chose in eternity past will receive the truer grace that is reserved or hidden for the elect and become saved. The Arminian view of atonement argues that Jesus died for all sinners throughout time. That is extended to mean that by his act on the cross, all are saved in the same way and by the same extent. Yet the atonement is only when a person chooses to receive that gift. Passages like John 1:29, 1 Timothy 4:10, Hebrews 2:9, and 1 John 4:14 give support to this view. However, the Arminian view tends to overemphasize God's love and overgeneralize God's salvific work, becoming a universal atonement no matter the condition of the person or whether or not that person actually believes in Jesus and his salvific work on the cross. There also arises the problem of the eternal judgment and the punishment of sinners. Despite Jesus dying for all mankind, and by extension of that Arminian argument of all mankind is saved, God has a final judgment to punish the sinful and evil. There is a redundancy where none is needed. Thus, there is a need to affirm, if you are of the Arminian camp, some level of limited atonement, or risk a universal atonement becoming universalism. This is the weakest of the three views, and is subsequently denied or refuted by both Bird and Grudem. Now, the I always mispronounce this one, but the Almoraldian view, which is supported by Bird, implies the twofold wills of God, from which stem the salvation of all people, and then God willing the salvation of the elect by imparting faith. The problem of someone not being saved is remedied by the fact that God didn't will them to be saved in eternity past. The incorporation of universal grace allows for an underlying universal atonement, while the particular grace given to the elect, and this is the kind that is limited in scope to whom can receive it, allows for a limited atonement as well. The Almoraldian view is a mixture of both the Calvinist and, to a lesser extent, the Arminian view, allowing for the operation of both forms of atonement and the agreement of the language used in the Bible. Passages like John 12, Ephesians 1, chapter 1, verses 4 through 6, 1 Thessalonians 1, 4 through 5, 2 Thessalonians 2:13, Romans 11:5 and 6, 2 Timothy 1 and 9, understood in relation to the election of his people and believers. These passages agree with those of John 1:29, John 3:16, 1 John 2 verse 2, 2 Corinthians 5:14 and 15, and 1 Timothy 2 verse 6, and 1 Timothy 4 verse 10 that portray the universal nature of Jesus' redemptive act on the cross.